Hey everybody, what's going on? It is James here with Crypto Common Sense with a Bitcoin / cryptocurrency market update. Today's date is April the 5th. It is just before 7 o'clock Central Time. So I'm going to walk through some charts. I'm going to move fairly quickly because I don't want to spend a bunch of time doing videos and editing videos. So first things first, the markets themselves are looking pretty beat up right now. They're looking pretty rough. This is a weekly chart. This is futures for the E-mini 2000, and we can see that our point of control is down around that 1575 area. We've got a pretty big volume gap in our profile right there, and we can also see that we broke south of the levels of support. That would be about a 20 to 25% drop if it was to go down and fill that in. I would say that all that was our support level through this area. All the way up there is kind of a zone of demand. We broke through it. We're retesting it as resistance or as supply. So that's looking pretty bad right now, and that's unfortunate. It's not something that I was rooting for. I was really hoping to see crypto have, a big push up over the next couple of months, and then, go into a bear market from there. I don't know that that's going to happen. It's looking more and more likely that stocks are going to kind of run the party. So that's kind of that's a 2000 chart. If we take a look at, we can take a look at the SPY. SPY doesn't look quite as bad, but it looks a lot like this is maybe moving back up to that golden pocket, that 61.8 Fibonacci level. That's very typical of a complacency bounce. We might end up getting something like this. So that definitely isn't making me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Could also end up being some kind of pseudo head and shoulders that plays out on the SPY. If we take a look at the Dow, which I haven't looked at in quite some time, it's pretty much the same thing. This is a weekly chart. It looks like there's a downward channel on the Dow. So, we are in a downtrend there. It's a non-log chart. Yeah, so pretty clear downtrend, a couple points on bottom to connect to a couple points on top. So I'd really like to see that break north of that downtrend if I was going to start getting bullish on those stocks. If we take a look at the QQQ, it looks even worse than some of the others. Again, our point of control is way down here. That's a massive drop from the all-time high. That would be a drop of about 55%. From our current price point, that would be a drop of about 49%. And unfortunately, when it comes to the tech market, that would not be abnormal. Back in 2000, it dropped about 84%. So definitely a possibility that we do go down and test those levels if this turns into a nasty recession / bear market. Same thing on the Fibonacci levels. If we draw them up, we came up just shy of the 61.8 golden pocket. We're leaving behind some nasty wicks. Of course, this is last week's wick. This week doesn't count yet because the candle's still open. So we'll have to wait and see what this week does. But it's not looking great. And I do have, just full disclosure, I do have some inverse ETFs against this QQQ right now. So I am obviously making money as it drops. So yeah, I view Bitcoin as a tech stock, or basically as a pseudo tech stock. And so if these markets are going down, I believe it will take Bitcoin with it. If we take a look at some Bitcoin charts, this is a 3-day chart. Let's take a look at the weekly real quick. So weekly, here's our weekly chart. We basically came up to the top of this quote unquote bear market box, which has been a pretty good indicator over the last few years for me. Basically, anytime we broke south of it, it posed a buying opportunity, like in the winter of 2018 and the early part of 2020, and then of course in January of this year. Those are all buying opportunities. The top of the box does tend to act as support and or resistance, so it did act as resistance a few weeks ago. When I take a look at the chart itself, I still view this as being, a giant upward channel, but I think the channel is failing. I don't think it's a bullish channel where we're going to go back to the top of it, unfortunately. But it is technically, still in a channel if you want to view it that way. We're above the 19-week moving average, but the 19-week moving average is curling down, which, basically negates it as support. If it was curling up, it would be a much stronger signal. Some people would say, well, back here it was support. It was, you know, and it definitely could come down and retest it and act as support again. But if you look, this is also forming a double top, or trying to. So that's very, very concerning to me. If we take a look at the 3-day chart, 3-day chart, we do have a downward sloping trend line on RSI. It does look like it was respected back here. Looks like it's kind of bouncing off of that. So that's interesting. Again, the yellow lines are just the same upward channel. I viewed this as a range that we were trying to break out of, right? Some type of ascending triangle, as we can see on the daily chart here. We did break north of it, but now we've just developed into another range. So if I pull this back out of the way, and I pull this one back out of the way, and I put a channel on there, I can connect to this point here, and this point here, this point here, here, and here. And we do have an upward sloping channel. Now, some people would be happy about that, saying, oh, it's, you know, it's going up, that's good. But unfortunately, if you're in a down move and then you get an upward channel, a lot of times that's actually a bear flag before more downside. So that's not really what we want to see. We don't want to see that channel moving up like that. We want to see a strong breakout of that channel and to the upside. And so far, we're not getting it. So that's a little bit concerning as well. If we take a look at the daily chart, let's put a 50 moving average on there. Well above the 50 moving average, so that's fine. But we did come in contact with the 200 simple moving average here. We were rejected off of it and sent back down to the top of this, what used to be an ascending triangle. And yeah, I wanted to see it retest it and then blast off. But unfortunately, it's just kind of being very, very weak right now. It's not moving up off of the channel like I had really hoped for. Okay, volume's not really telling me a story either way. It's, you know, not really bullish or bearish in nature in my opinion. It's just kind of normal volume doing what volume does. So those are some things to keep an eye on. As far as the bigger picture goes, I'm going to pull up a wick off real quick. And again, I'm not a wick off expert. I don't really trade wick off in terms of go out there and look for wick off every time you turn around or anything. If I spot something obvious, then sometimes, you know, I'll post it up or I'll trade it. For example, a few weeks ago I spotted this. This was, wouldn't say obvious, but looked fairly it looked fairly likely to me, right? Plausible, whatever you want to call it. It looked like this was probably going to be a spring. We're probably going to get a move up. So that was back around like 38K. And of course we did get the big move up. So that was nice. But overall, I don't really look for a wick off to trade. But this is a wick off chart here that I posted up initially. I posted it up way back in November, of course, before all the price action happened. The theory was that we would drop and that we would then make a move back up toward like 50 to 55K. And then we would enter into our final phase D. Well, I guess we'll be the final phase. We'd enter phase D and then, you know, phase D later. You know, still feeling pretty good about that. That's one of the reasons that I was kind of bullish back here. It's one of the reasons that I had some long positions on Bitcoin. But I'm starting to wonder. If maybe we're not going to get back to the 55K zone. Maybe this is all we get. I don't know. Again, I was hoping we'd get there before the stock market started melting down, but now the stock market's looking like it's a lot weaker than what I hoped it was. And so I don't see Bitcoin moving up if the stocks are going down. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. You know, it's a really, really tough position to be in because I don't want to start shorting where it's at right now, but I have started hedging some positions. So I have some shorts out on, you know, crypto that I hold just so that it's kind of hedged, and then I'll kind of play that by ear. But yeah, this is still what I think is happening. You know, whether it moves up to here or not, I'm completely unsure about. I don't really have an opinion. I'm 50-50 on that, but I still feel like we are, you know, in distribution, and that when this is all said and done, we probably are going to move down in a big way. And if I had to guess, I know nobody wants to hear this, but I really feel like the likelihood is we will go down and fill in these volume gaps, right? But there's a massive gap right here all the way down to 20K, and really I think it's very likely we'll go down and tag this level of support, and probably even lower than that. If the stock market, especially if the stock market melts down, like if we start seeing stocks like the tech stocks go back down to this point of control, you're talking about a massive drop. a 30% drop in the stock market in 2020 resulted in an over 50% drop in Bitcoin. So if we get a 50+% drop in the stock market, I think Bitcoin's going to go much lower than what most people are expecting it to go. And where'd my chart go? And I think it's entirely possible that we actually go all the way down here and fill in this old gap. Now that's, macro time frame stuff. It's not something where I'm trying to take a trade today and, all that kind of stuff. But I do think it's entirely possible that this does get retested at some point in the future down around that 3K level. Again, only if the stock market melts down. I don't believe that Bitcoin will go down to that level without stocks pulling it down. I don't think Bitcoin's just going to go there on its own. So just to be very, very clear about that. But those are some things that I'm watching for. I'm obviously, neither a lover or hater of Bitcoin. I have some crypto like I always have since I got involved in this space, but I'm not exposed to it or anything like that. If it goes up, it's great. I make some money. If it goes down, well, that's a bummer. I get some profits back, but overall, I prefer it go up. I don't see that happening in the environment that we're in. And unfortunately, as inflation has ran wild, we're at the highest inflation in like 40+ years, and the stock market has looked weak. Bitcoin has once again failed to live up to its expectations. It has not acted as a hedge against inflation. It has not acted as a hedge or a store of value against the stock market. It's done none of those things. It's acted just like a growth asset would act. And so once again, I just think that points to the reality that Bitcoin is a speculative growth asset. It's not a store of value. It's not a hedge against inflation or any of the other many things that the crypto bulls go on and on about. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it would be nice to have that hedge, but I'm just not seeing it. All right, so there's a lot of other things I could talk about, but I am going to keep the video short. One thing about these videos, I haven't been doing near as many of them, and I've noticed that the space itself is very, very quiet. It goes for Twitter, it goes for social media. I post stuff on Facebook in a group of thousands of people. I get a few dozen reactions and or comments to it. It's all the signs of a bear market, right? The euphoria is gone, right? People are no longer what I would say getting participation trophies just for being in the market. All of a sudden you have to actually know what you're doing, or it's not so easy, right? So I definitely think that the writing is on the wall, and if you are not using stops and you're not trading safe, it very well may come back to haunt you in a very big way. So one last chart we can take a look at before I wrap this video up is going to be the Bitcoin versus QQQ chart, which again, this measures the relative strength of Bitcoin versus the tech sector. So if I pull this up, we can see it right here. This is actually versus the US 100. And this is the chart that I posted up a few months ago talking about this looked like a complacency bounce. So far that has been the case. It looks like this was the peak of euphoria and this was complacency, but this is still in a triangle type of pattern. This is a monthly chart. So, in all fairness, this could still break either direction. It is entirely possible that this ends up being a flagpole, and this ends up being a giant bull flag, and that bulls are right, and this just goes absolutely bonkers, and that would be fine, and I have no problem with that. It is a possibility. I think it's more likely that it breaks down and that, again, this goes way back down, kind of returns to reality and then resets, and we do it all over again. I believe the next halving is going to be in 2024. Of course, when the halvings happen, that decreases new supply of Bitcoin entering the market. That increases the cost of production. All those things tend to be big drivers in the past when it comes to Bitcoin price. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. But my guess, and this is just kind of off the cuff to the side here, I don't want to go real deep in this because it'll make the video too long, but my guess is Bitcoin's probably seen its all-time high. And I mean that, period. I don't mean like this cycle, I mean period. My guess is this probably will go down if the stock market crashes to those low $1,000 marks, maybe a few $1,000, $3,000, $4,000. I think it will have another good run in it in the future over the next, decade. Maybe even move back up to the $35,000 to $45,000 range. But I think that's pretty much where we're going to see Bitcoin settle down, you know, as it becomes mass adoption and things like that. And I think we'll see other technology kind of take over. You know, we're already seeing that a little bit with Ethereum. Ethereum's got close to 20% market share now, which you can see by going to ETH.D, right? It's at 19.7% market share. So, you know, I do think other technology will eventually take over, but I think that even with all that being said, I think that Bitcoin is still going to be an opportunity. You know, if it does drop down to those low $3,000, $4,000, even $10,000, $12,000 levels, I think we'll see a pump back up in the future that, you know, makes those good levels to invest at least temporarily. So I'm not hating on Bitcoin. I think there's a lot of opportunity in it. I just think right now that it's a case of the markets as a whole went too far, too fast. And, you know, anytime that happens, eventually the markets return to the mean. And I think that's where we're at right now, is we're in the beginning phases of what will eventually take us back down to the mean. So all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up there. Please remember, I am some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, so nothing in the video is financial advice. You should always go out and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, precious metals, Forex, or any other tradable asset. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure to check the description. There's a link where you can join my Patreon for just $17 a month. That gives you access to more frequent updates. Also gives you access to some trade tutorials. And there will be a link down there to join my trading course, which of course is where I teach technical analysis, my style of technical analysis, and also my trade setups, risk management, money management strategies, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's it. With all that being said, make sure you're trading safe. This is James with the Crypto Common Sense. I'll see you in the next one.